They couldn't have been a better way to end off the year in terms of the UFC than finally getting the main event correct. Leon Edwards basically shut out Colby Covington. I'm knowing that all the scorecards was 49-46, but Leon basically gave him that last round because he wanted to roll around with him trying to prove a point. Guess he felt like since he knew he wasn't going to knock him out, he might well try to out-grapple him as well. I ain't gonna lie, all things considered, that fight was just a little weak. And if I'm going to blame somebody, I'm absolutely blaming Colby Covington. Colby Covington went out there from the jump and fought extremely timid. He fought nothing like Colby Covington. To go out and perform like that in front of your hero is crazy. I was thinking that this fight was 100% supposed to be more of a 50-50. Because with Colby's relentless and chaotic style, I thought he would be able to pose a lot of problems for Leon. Which is funny because when he actually did move forward in those last couple of rounds, he had a lot more success than he did early on. Now, there's been a lot of things people have talked about in regards to this fight. Leon's just that much better than Colby. Colby was scared, people bringing up the ring rust, all this different stuff. And honestly, I think it was a combination of all of those factors. I do think that Leon is the better fighter and just has a really good style at keeping people like Colby at bay. But I do also think that Colby held himself back mentally. I think he thought Leon was more dangerous than he actually is. And that ain't a shot at Leon. He's capable of finishing anybody, as we've seen. But more often than not, he's not just this killer in there, And Colby ain't fought in, 2.5 years? Something like that. So I do think that also played a part as well. Especially considering that he's almost 40 years old. He is a geezer now. Just an interesting fight. A little lackluster, not gonna lie. But Leon did what he needed to do. Retains his belt. And Bilal should be next. I'm pretty sure Dana actually already said Bilal's next. I actually want to take this moment to talk about Leon because he's starting to piss me off. After the fight, he himself mentioned that Bilal shouldn't be next and he shouldn't be able to skip the line to get a title shot. I don't know in what world Bilal would be skipping the line for this shot when he is the number 2 ranked guy. The number 1 ranked guy, according to one of the graphics that they actually showed during the pay-per-view, isn't even in the division anymore. And there's a whole host of names in the top 10 that Bilal, whether we like it or not, has already defeated. Not to mention that Bilal actually does need to try and get his lick back against Leon because they have unfinished business. But Leon also proceeded to basically insinuate that he doesn't want Shavkat next either. He mentioned that his performance against Wonder Boy wasn't overly impressive, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but I'll get to that later. Basically, what Leon's trying to do is say he wants to go up and fight for the middleweight belt, as he already has in the past. And thankfully, Dana has already said that Bilal is next, which is the correct thing to do. For Colby, he can either retire or he can fight somebody else that was on this card also. I'll get to that in a minute as well. Moving on to the co-main event, Alexandra Pantoja once again defeated Brandon Royval. This fight was a lot more difficult than the first one was. My fault, Brandon. I mentioned in my prediction that I didn't really think he was going to be able to improve his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense that much to cover the gap in between these fights, and he absolutely did. I was wrong, sir. My apologies. And on the feet, he was able to have some success, as you would have hoped, specifically in that 5th round. The two did put in a lot of really good grappling work. Royval still obviously can't stop any takedowns, regardless of how tired Pantoja was. And that was an interesting thing to me, that Pantoja genuinely did look quite gassed. Wasn't really expecting that, being that we did just see him go head up with Brandon Moreno for 5 rounds at a higher pace. But, it is what it is. Even so, he was able to push through till the end. And as I mentioned in that prediction, his chin is ridiculous. He completely ate a couple of shots that should have knocked him out, but they ain't even phase him. I don't think he's human. But, shout out to both of them. The fight overall wasn't the most exciting, I ain't gonna lie, but it was cool. Shavkat has become the first man to submit Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Another lackluster performance overall, I'm not gonna lie to you, but Shavkat continued his finishing streak and again accomplished something that nobody else has been able to do. And when you consider some of the guys that Wonderboy has fought over the years, for Shavkat to be the first to submit him is quite the accomplishment. Now, if I would have sat down to record this about a day ago, I would have missed the news that apparently Shavkat had a really serious issue with his ankle before the fight that actually required surgery, but he still went in the octagon to get to it anyway. Shout out to him for that, and that could potentially add some context as to why he struggled that bad taking down Wonderboy. Now, I do want to shout out Wonderboy because I said his takedown defense sucks now, and it doesn't clearly. But I ain't gonna lie, I was ready to call Shavkat's wrestling into question. Now, he ain't never really been like a shooter, like a double or single leg kind of shooter in open space. but he often does defer to the clinch. That's where he likes to put in a lot of different work, and that's where bulk of his takedowns do come from. But he did struggle heavily taking down Jeff Neal, but many tried to attribute that to Neal coming in overweight. He just struggled taking down Wonder Boy, and so far, at least, most are just either giving credit to Wonder Boy or they've pinned it on that new news of Shavkat's recent ankle injury. Me though, I'm ready to say that Shavkat is just an okay wrestler, but I guess I'll wait. Either way, really good win for him. Good name on his resume. I think Colby Covington should be next. That makes a lot of sense. And if he can beat Colby, that would absolutely set him up for a title shot. And for Wonder Boy, just give him a striker. I don't care who it is. Just give him somebody that want to stand up and get to it. I would have said Ian Gary, but he's about to get assassinated by Jeff Neal. So it's been time for Tony Ferguson to retire, but now it is absolutely time for him to put down the gloves forever, please. He lost pretty handily to Paddy Pimblett. It's over. Tony looked pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. And that's saying something, because Paddy ain't look good either. But he was still good enough to beat Tony Ferguson. And again, that says it all right there. Tony, please stop. To think that I watched Tony Ferguson get dropped and ran down on by Paddy Pimblett actually breaks my heart. But he has to stop. Dana, don't give him another fight. Make him stop, please. That's really all I have to say. I don't care no more. And the main card opened up by Josh Emmett actually almost killing Bryce Mitchell. I knew I ain't like this matchup for Thug Nasty. I respect him for stepping in on short notice to do it, but he did step in like that against a rather high caliber guy in the division. And he absolutely paid for it, Jesus. Not too much to talk about in terms of the fight, except for the finishing sequence. They looked to trade rights, but Josh Emmett, he threw an overhand like a haymaker type of right, getting his head way off the center line. And Bryce planted himself just trying to throw a little right straight. Kept his head right on line, and boy, Josh Emmett tried to kill him. Thought he did for a second, I ain't gonna lie, it was pretty scary. But apparently Bryce Mitchell is okay. I ain't gonna lie, I'm very interested to see how he moves forward from this, because apparently he was ready to retire from what Ilya Topuria did to him, and he did beat him up a little bit, but Josh Emmett almost actually did exile him from life, so I'm interested to see how he handles this one. Outside of that though, the prelims and the early prelims was lit. That's really where the action was at for real. Cody Garbrandt's on a win streak again. That makes me happy. He still sucks, though. I ain't gonna lie. Irene Aldana and Carol Rosa put on a marvelous fight. Fight of the night, actually. Great performances from them two. Andre Feely called him a mean body and also gave us a meme and talking about his love for Latinas. Alonzo Minifield and Dustin Jacoby threw blows for 15 minutes. It was fun. It was really fun. Josh Emmett started off the main card real nice, and then, it just kind of slightly went downhill from there, but it's cool. It was a good card. A okay, super okay way to wrap up the year. I'm just happy I finally got some predictions right, so hopefully I can carry this momentum into 2024 and do better.